Alright, I'm gonna record a quick video here going over the community coaching session I had with Kala. Um, I don't know, I've never seen anybody do this before, but it felt like something that I kind of wanted to do, so I'm just gonna do it. I think it's gonna be interesting to see from the student's perspective, like after I've already rewatched this back, probably at least 5 times, if not closer to 10, and just seeing what like the person getting coached gets out of it. So yeah, we'll just
Fabulous.
go right into it.
Welcome to community coaching. Who are you? What are you about? What rank are you? Give us all the information. We want to hear it.
Okay, so I'm Riokaii. It's Valla at Masters on Battlefield of Eternity. Um, I've played HOTS for about a year, but I took a break, and so I only came back in like the past 2 months or so. Um, I've played League for 6 years prior to playing HOTS, so I'm like pretty familiar with MOBAs. I placed Platinum 3 originally, and then ended up like Diamond 4 after I was playing originally, and then when I came back, I placed Diamond 4 and I climbed to Masters within like a week on like an 80% win streak or whatever. And then I've immediately hit a ceiling. So I've just pretty much immediately gone back down 50-50 and have dropped in and out of Masters like 5 times. So.
Okay.
Very good breakdown of all the games. Your
I'm just
tips
gonna
will make
change
me
the
a better
volume here.
player.
So he's going to change the volume. But so as a little bit of a background, I found Kala's coaching videos about like a month or a month and a half ago or whatever. It was just slightly after I had come back because I hadn't been following, like HOTS videos or anything or what else. And so I had seen his, I think had seen it get posted to Reddit basically. And so I had tried to watch a few of them. I'd say maybe I had watched 25% of the coaching videos up to this point, and I had tried to apply in one of the earlier weeks. And then he went on a break and didn't do coaching for a couple weeks or whatever. So I actually had about a solid month, I would say, of games that I was playing where I was watching Call of videos, probably I would say maybe 2 or 3 a day, roughly just trying to catch up, go through the backlog or whatever. I mostly did heroes that I played or heroes that I knew well that I had played in the past or things like that. And now I'm slowly starting to branch out into like heroes and roles that I don't play, like more so tanks, which is my least played role and things like that. So I'm slowly going through the backlog. But because I had built up like a month of watching these videos, is I had listened to a lot of people that Kala says, oh, if you play League or whatever, that's helpful and things like that, and a lot of the things that he points out in other replays that you can pick up on as yourself as a student, things like that. So I think that's just super helpful for anybody who's like wanting to get coached. Is I was the same way, and honestly, I think I got more out of watching other people's videos than I did my own, and that's kind of weird, but I don't really know how to explain that. It's like you can fix mistakes without even making them yourself necessarily. Um, I don't know. It's weird, but anyway, that was pretty useful. So yeah, we go on for a little bit here at the start, going over things.
Can't even hear myself think. Is the replay system? Thank you for the story. That's actually excellent. I like hearing that sort of stuff. Okay. So what? Give me your League of Legends information. This actually helps me. Well, what were you ranked?
Oh, I was going to mention also just alongside this is that I felt my situation was somewhat unusual. I don't think I'm super unique or anything. As like, oh, I'm pretty good at HOTS. I was pretty good at League. Who knew? You know. And as in the same coaching session, just by coincidence mostly, Wingsaber also had a similar situation. He said in chat. Um, so maybe not, but I felt it was different as a student that is I'm still building habits and I'm still learning game sense and game knowledge and things like that. Like I say at the end of this is that I felt like I had more genre knowledge than necessarily game knowledge. And so my game sense was pretty bad. I still don't really know what some of the heroes do exactly because I don't play against them or haven't played them myself very often. Things like that. So my mechanics were pretty much carrying me. And so I felt like my what I would need to be coached on was different, so I felt it was good to tell him that ahead of time because he's not going to need to coach me on mechanics. He's pretty quickly going to realize that I'm playing a pretty mechanically, well, I wouldn't say intense because she's not all of that complex, but not really a high skill ceiling either. But she's a hero that you need mechanics to play at a decent level or whatever. I would say, if you can't stutter step, you shouldn't be playing Valla, pretty much. Period. So that's going to become pretty apparent once we get into the game pretty quickly, and I'll touch on that more once we get to that. But yeah, it was mostly just kind of getting him cued into what my mentality is of, okay, I climbed pretty quickly, now I'm stuck. I'm still having to learn and build these habits. It's not like I've played 10,000 games of HOTS before and I know, when you can do core, when you can do boss, when you should take camps, all that stuff. I'm having to learn completely from scratch, and it's while I'm learning heroes and while I'm learning maps and, all this other stuff. So I'm taking in a lot of information and it's all kind of getting jumbled in my head. And so it's not exactly all settled yet in the right spots. So yeah, anyway.
What was your main?
I didn't really play ranked. I had like really bad ladder anxiety,
Okay.
so I probably played like less than 200 ranked games over like 6 years or something. So I only ever got gold in league. But yeah, I just played like 4,000 normal games or something.
Okay.
I thought it would have been interesting. Obviously, there's only so much time you get in a coaching session, so that's also kind of why I want to go back over this and touch on things that we didn't get to touch on, because I think there was a lot to unpack, and there always is in these videos. So I kind of wish other students actually did this if they're up to it, if they're willing want to do it. But I mentioned that I had ladder anxiety when I was playing League and that I didn't really play ranked games. I've played more ranked games of HOTS than I have in a year than I did in 6 years of playing League, I'm pretty sure. And I took a break from HOTS in the middle for like a solid 6 months. So I've only played, I would say, about 6 months in total, like time of HOTS. Maybe even less than that. Maybe closer to like 4 or 5. So I thought he would have touched on maybe of like, how did you break that? Or what did you do to break it? And it would have been really funny because my answer is, I have no idea. I just played HOTS and I felt like I was pretty good at the game. And so I didn't really have the ladder anxiety of, it was also, I've uh, had taken a break from League for about a year or two in between. So when I was younger, I used to, attribute a lot more like self-worth, I would say, to like your rank in a game is like your value is like a person, which is really bizarre, but that's a really bad thing to do, and it's really hard to break once you've set that mentality. And so being able to come in fresh without having that mentality already set in place of like, this is super important. I've played this game for 6 years. I need to be good. It's just like, oh, I'm just some dude who plays the game because it's fun. So, oh, I happen to be good. Hey, that's kind of neat. Hey, I'll keep playing more because it's fun to get ranks. And then, climbing is, it's like climbing as an accident or like as a byproduct necessarily rather than like the sole singular goal of like defining your worth as a person or whatever that people will flame you over or not flame you over or respect you or not respect you over and things like that. So yeah, that I thought that would have been neat to touch on, but there's only so much
No,
time.
that's perfect.
And he
what
probably
did you
wants to
play?
focus on gameplay anyway.
So I mostly played AD carry and support, and I really also one-tricked Anivia in the mid lane.
Of course, nice dude. The frozen bird herself.
So yeah, I mentioned AD carry and support. I actually pretty much mainly played Anivia. But I did play a lot of AD carry and support, that's true. But I would say my main role was mid, but I kind of tell a white lie little fib here. And to put more emphasis on that, I play a lot of supports and ranged assassins. That was I was trying to get that message across in fewer words because we have such short time and I was aware of this. To like, there's not really a mid laner in HOTS. Like, that role doesn't really exist. You can play mages. I do play some mages, but they also kind of fit under ranged assassin. And so if he knows that I play mages or played a mage in the past and that I played AD carry, he knows I have mechanics to stutter step and things like that, while also knowing spells and rotations and ability combos and timings and cooldown management and mana management and positioning and supports is like you need to be aware of your cooldowns and the threats on the enemies and peeling and all that kind of stuff. I've tried to encapsulate a lot of information that he could gather from what I had played in the past into like as short, condensed, concise, singular, phrases as possible, so that he can unpack and get a lot of information out of it. It's at this point, me and Kala are like telepathically communicating by saying very few words, but giving each other a lot of information to work off of here. And I think that's actually really cool, and it's a really neat part of this experience. I was also going to mention I was the last coaching session of the night, and normally that's because I get off work at it's 10 o'clock my time, so 9 p.m. PST, and he normally does his streams a little bit earlier in the evening, and only like the last session or two maybe are that late in the night. So especially this night, for some reason, I think he was a little bit, I don't know, maybe not as energetic or as ready, like super, trying to dive into all the little nitty gritty details that he has done or does do sometimes on some other people's replays. And I think he could have done that, but again, there's only so much time. And I think he was really, especially after this first little exchange, I think he was very good at understanding where my problems were, especially after the first like 10 minutes of the game. Maybe, I don't know, I forget the timers exactly. We're like, I made some really bad decisions in the mid game, especially. Um, and we'll get to that. And so I feel like at that point he kind of realized that those were the important things to focus on for me, and that was the value that I would get. And this is pretty much why I wanted to make this video, is he focused a lot on me of what I would get out of it, and that's obviously good. That's what you want out of somebody coaching you. Like that's kind of the great, like that's the whole purpose of, that's how you get like a satisfied exchange out of that or whatever, and want to do it again or encourage other people to do it for themselves, and that just grows and it's like a super mutually beneficial thing all around. Like that's obviously good, and obviously Kala wants to help me too. But I think I don't know, maybe more important, but obviously there's a lot of value in he's streaming these, he's uploading them to YouTube, that other people that aren't me can get value out of these, as I was already mentioning for myself, getting value out of other people's. And so, especially earlier in the night, he mentioned a lot about people not getting value out of their auto attacks, weaving in auto attacks and stutter stepping, not using their abilities, exactly correctly or not often enough, and things like that. And he actually is going to bring this up to me even. So that's funny that I would even thought I had been pretty good about that, and he even finds a spot in here or whatever where it's like, oh, you're completely missing this, and it's, oh, I probably wouldn't have realized that myself, at least nearly as quickly. Probably would have taken another 50 games or whatever, maybe not that much, but before realizing that. So he focused a lot on me, and I'm going to point out a lot of things that I think other people can get a lot out of that Kala completely skips over, doesn't even mention a slight bit, but that I think he would mention if he had, 2 or 3 hours to go over this instead of 45 minutes. So, yeah, that's also why I'm wanting to make this, is I feel like there's a lot of things that other people can get out of this that, particularly I think I'm a pretty good example of, that, in comparison to other people who may are having trouble with it, you can see in my play some of the benefits that it brings you and things like that. So I'll get to that.
Before we move forward, I just wanted to thank FireDragon69 for the $20, saying very good breakdown of all the games. Your tips will make me a better player. Thank you so much for that unbelievable support. $20. Can we get some Kitsune hypers in the chat, please, and thank you. But we're moving forward. We've got a bordering on Master and Diamond player here. Valla, MOBA experience. Obviously Q build on this map in particular, just because it helps you race the Immortals, so good start already. So why Valla over Hanzo?
Hanzo got banned.
Okay, is that your other go-to?
Well, I'm also not as comfortable playing Hanzo, and I was kind of a one-trick Valla when I was originally playing. Since I came back, I've tried to like branch out playing other stuff, so
okay,
I'm just comfortable on Valla in general.
you will need to.
So I think he took this actually a bit more seriously than I was, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I should be taking it more seriously than I was. But I can play Hanzo. I can, Hanzo's like, I've played him decent number of times or whatever, but he's not like I'm good at Hanzo. It's just like I can play him. It's not like a hero that it's like this is one of my best heroes. So I think maybe I sort of gave the wrong impression, maybe slight miscommunication here of like, oh, I don't really play Hanzo that much, when it was like, no, I can. He just got banned, and I'm really comfortable on Valla. That was kind of the impression that I was trying to get, is like, listen, I understand Hanzo's good for the same reason that Valla's good, but I'm pretty comfortable on Valla anyway, so I felt like I was pretty comfortable picking this here. And he was like, no, you need to play Hanzo. And I kind of have joked with Kala or Kala's chat a little bit in the past about this. It was just like, every single game it's going to start with, so why didn't you pick Hanzo? So yeah, that's just a little funny thing for me, is I think we had a little bit of a slight miscommunication here, but it's only for a choice in the draft or whatever, things like that. And so it's only for 30 seconds
So
here,
this
but
is a
this was
meta
kind
that
of weird to me.
I love Valla, man. I absolutely love her. I think she's probably one of my better heroes, but she just gets absolutely dominated by everything else in the game. So she has a tough time existing in this meta right now. But that being said, there's a few things that you have to watch out for. Poke damage from both Leeming and Thrall. The all-in potential from this Greymane. You have to be cautious of how you use your Vault. And obviously just getting flanked and hit by ETC. I wonder if he goes Block Party.
Oh, I should maybe mention, I took notes, by the way. Like, I watched the replay back.
Oh, so this is where I bring up that I took notes. So I wrote them all in a notepad, and I pointed out, I think I noticed 6 main mistakes or points that I wanted to bring up and ask about. So I had watched this replay over. I watched it to find it to submit it, and then I watched it again after I had submitted it and got the coaching of where the mistakes were that I had noticed myself or whatever, just so I could point them out or point what my mentality was or whatever, and why he could then dissect why it was wrong and why I should be doing something else and things like that. Because I think that's more important is just not, I can notify mistakes or whatever. If I do something stupid, it's pretty easy for me to go, okay, that was dumb. I died for it. I should do something else. But it's hard to understand what the correct something else is in that situation. That was my difficulty. And I think Kala picked up on this actually pretty well. All things considered, especially just having like 5 minutes of talking to me or whatever, is he picked on that up on that pretty well as the game goes on. Of that being my difficulty is like I can understand when I do dumb stuff and when it's bad, but it's hard for me to then break that and know exactly what's correct and why necessarily. Because again, I'm having to build that all from scratch while also getting all this other information in my head, and it's all kind of jumbling and not really, I'm not at the point where I'm settled in the game or whatever. I know what every hero does. I know how to play my heroes, everything like that. I'm still learning all that stuff, so it's not like then I can go, oh, here's how you play this map. Here's how to optimally, take this camp at what time and do this objective. And, after we get a kill here, what objective should we take off of it or whatever, or should we push or should we not push? All that kind of stuff. Like I said, it's just getting jumbled in my head. And so I was having difficulty being able to pick apart one thing and focus on it at improving that or learning that as an area of focus to, improve at singularly, because I needed to do all the other stuff alongside it. So
back and took notes of like what I was thinking sort of at the time. So
Very cool. Okay, let me know
I don't
when
know
we
if
get
you
to
want
your
me to
points.
go over those. Okay, cool.
So he's not going to mention this here, but you can see our Lucio was standing on the fountain and wasn't moving. So you can see at this point, I ping him. And so I'm standing still here, and Li Ming is going to combo, and it's going to barely miss me. And it's because I'm looking at my Lucio over here coming in, and I had just pinged him on the fountain or whatever. And I was trying to ping and let my team know, like, hey, don't try and fight or whatever. We're down a person, especially our healer is bad. So I thought he was going to maybe mention that I should like dodge this or whatever. He doesn't mention this at all, but I just thought this was funny. I'm not even sure he noticed, but yeah, this Li Ming combo comes across, and I'm just chilling. Completely misses, luckily for me, right as I then start moving, so then we're good.
Okay, let's get to it.
So he immediately says I should be more aggressive on this wave, especially building
You can
hatred
already
stacks is
step
really
up a
important.
little bit more aggressively. You want to be like right here. You should just W the wave. Ah, no, that kills the globe. That's probably bad.
I like that he immediately calls out why that's bad. I probably would have W'd this wave, and I would have given them the globe, like, in so many games, and I would have never actually picked up on that, but because he just says that and then immediately 5 seconds later says why that's wrong and agrees with what I do this correctly on accident. I will fully admit that. I do this play correctly on accident, but now I know in the future for every game going forward why this is correct. And, like, I would have never known that. I would have either W'd this wave or not W'd this wave, and I would have, like, never made the connection, probably, for a long while, that I'm giving them a free globe. I would probably pick up on that. I need to play solo lane more. That's what I'm trying to get used to doing. I'm playing a lot of solo lane Phoenix lately. And so globes are really important. So I'm slowly kind of learning that or whatever, especially with the globes changing semi-recently. Like, they used to be not both teams could pick up a globe after a certain amount of time and things like that. So, yeah, I just thought this was really cool. This, like, I'm getting so much out of this, and we're a minute into the game, and I've already learned something. Like, that was the coolest thing to me, is just immediately learning something on the first wave of the minions.
The fact that your team just doesn't commit at all. Maybe it's just better to get the souls. I think that's fine. Because you don't want them to have you in this position where Li Ming can just sit here throwing spells at you guys the entire time, but there's not a whole lot you can do to it. If you W'd the wave there, then they just get an extra globe, so that actually would have been bad. I'm going to...
So at this point, he highlights my character, and from this next little sequence, you're going to be seeing my movement commands and my attack move commands. And he doesn't mention this at all, but I think he should do this in more replays, and this is kind of my feedback for Kala, I guess, is try to highlight the hero as that the person is playing as much as possible so that you can see their mouse clicks. Because I think this is huge, and he doesn't mention this at all. But I think other people will get so much out of this is just seeing how much I click and how much I A-click and how I'm almost constantly moving, even, and stutter stepping and things like that. And that's how I'm able to dodge a lot of these leaming spells that are coming out. So
Highlight you.
I believe it should start showing in a second here. Oh, it's showing the red here. So there we go. So it's showing green to red, green to red. You can see me clicking all the way around here, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so he doesn't mention this at all of like how my mouse is moving here. So I missed a stutter step forward there. I probably could have gotten an additional auto. He doesn't mention that at all. I get 2 here, which he thinks is good. You can see I'm positioned down so that Leeming can't poke all of us at once. Oh, I muted it.
Because you don't have to? Or is it? You can be here.
I definitely tend to play a little bit too greedy, too over-aggressive.
Yeah.
Yep, this is too far.
So, like, if they're here and you get slid and then stunned off of that, like, and Greymane all-ins you can die off that for sure. Oh yeah, you 100% die off that.
So sidestep on the
that's
Leeming
scary.
W.
Be careful about that.
Yeah, I should have tried to vault the slide.
Yep.
Again, should
You
vault the
that
slide.
immediately,
Should
yep.
E immediately.
Even quicker is better. And just auto attack the target you can.
Okay, so at this point, this ETC should be dead 100% of the time. Now, Call is going to say that I should walk over this way and towards the towers and kind of be up and around here to try and hit a Q when ETC is walking towards his gate. Instead, I choose to kite upward as he's running pretty much in this sort of diagonal line, pretty much right where the Uther is right on his path. And so I'm just going to run parallel to that line so that I'm always in range. And I stay out of tower range until somebody else is closer tanking the towers. And I pretty much know that he doesn't have my hero highlighted, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a W. And I'm pretty sure I'll have a Q. I don't actually need the Q. He says that I weave a Q through here, which is Leeming is going to be up here and Uther's down here, and I weave a Q through it. I don't even use a Q here. I kill him straight off auto attacks. And so this is, I think, was really important as to just highlighting how good stutter stepping is I get a kill here without having to worry about hitting a skill shot, simply because I just move correctly. He thinks it's a skill shot. It's pretty hard to tell Tracer autos, or not Tracer, Valla autos from her Q. They look pretty similar, but yeah.
Hit. This is perfect. I'd feed everything into him. One down.
So there's the W that I know I can finish him off if I get like one more auto. And I'm bursting him after he's gotten the Uther armor off of him. So that's what I'm choosing to W. So you see, I just need one more auto here. These would block my Q if I tried to hit it through here. But you see, I auto, and then I Q after. This is the Q right here. And it's going to hit Uther. So I don't think there was any way I actually was able to weave it through there, but I just killed him straight. I could even have walked forward, probably an additional 1 or 2 maybe autos. I'm not sure on Uther's stun. That might be iffy. And Leeming is throwing a spell out right now, so I could probably maybe do at least one more fairly safely. Yeah, I can kill him just off autos. I don't need to worry about hitting a Q. So he was thinking I need to come down so that I can hit a Q this way, so that it can't be body blocked. But that's a lot more risky. I think I could get jumped on, more easily hit by Leeming. This way I was standing behind minions for the most part, and the rest of my team or whatever, so I couldn't really get hit by Leeming, and Greymane was very, very far away. So I was very safe in my positioning here. So I thought this was played really well by me, and I thought it was funny that Kala didn't actually notice that I never queued him. But, we're moving on.
Ooh, so...
And I should be moving during this, rather than just standing still. I might have actually W'd too soon. He might have still had the armor.
Excuse me. I was thinking you needed to be down here to get the Q this way because it's easier. But that was good.
Leeming and I vaulted late, so I still got hit by the Leeming W.
Good. If you guys can clear the minion wave, you might even be able to do the camp.
Yeah, I remember this call for the bottom camp instead of the bruiser got made.
Yes, so this is the call I'm talking about, is we didn't call to take the camp off the kill. The call was take the camp before the immortals spawn. And they called the bottom camp. And I know this is wrong, but it was the call that my team made. And so Kali takes this as we should do the bottom camp and then do our shaman camp. But the call that my team made was just take the bottom camp. And I disagreed with that, but this is part of the problem that I bring up later is I call it shot calling, but I'm not really comfortable talking on voice because, again, I have no idea I don't have game sense. I don't have game knowledge in this game. So anything I say on voice is basically, hey, I'm the mechanics guy, and I think we should do this. And I'm going to make the wrong call out, like, way more often than I'm going to make the right one at this current situation. And so not having confidence, not being able to objectively make the right calls just makes me not very vocal on giving information to my team or whatever, or disagreeing with call and things like that. I'm just generally not one to just like, if my team does something dumb, I'm generally not going to call it out. I'm just going to kind of just play on whatever, because I recognize that just bringing more negativity just kind of feeds on itself into more negativity, and it doesn't ever really help you win any game. And more likely than not, the person really probably isn't going to change off some random person just telling them to do something unless it's like really obvious. But if it's really obvious, then they can probably know for it themselves. So it's kind of just like a whole mess that I just kind of generally stay away from. But I do recognize that as I get higher and higher, being able to make calls like that is more important. And especially when your team is making the wrong calls, being able to confidently make the correct one and overrule them, sort of, is going to win you a lot of games. So I want to break that, but it's a hard thing to break. So yeah, I think, again, a little bit of miscommunication. We're still pretty on the coaching session. That Kala, I think, a little bit misunderstands what I'm trying to convey here of like, I understand that this was wrong, but this is the call my team made, and I'm not confident enough to overrule them, so I just go along with it. And he doesn't focus on it too much, but yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know what the pros or cons are against that really, but
It's just we didn't do it fast enough. You can do it off of a kill. You could have done it off of the kill before going for the.
I should mention, it was still helpful for him to say, you could have done both and do one off the kill, and that would have been like the best thing you could do there. I still found that very helpful because I think most of the time I would have just continued clearing waves and then only done the bruiser camp. I wouldn't have considered that we could have taken siege camp there. And he's saying just off one kill you could have done it. Granted, it was the tank, and that's a pretty important kill to get, whereas like if it was Li Ming or Greymane, it's maybe a little bit more iffy. But I found that still helpful because I probably wouldn't have tried to get both camps in general. That's just not something that is really in my game sense to know to do like that yet.
Minion wave. You're
Or
Monster
wasn't
Hunter,
at this
so yeah, you guys
at this
clear the
point.
camp so fast. Nice.
So he just says nice, but I felt like it's pretty important to highlight that like you have a movement ability. If you see that you're going to get hit by skill shots, you should try and use the movement ability to dodge the skill shots. This is also something that he doesn't really mention, but because I have the wall above me and the Li Ming spells are pretty long range, is that they're coming at me at roughly this angle, and so I recognize that I can't actually vault. I can't vault down because then I'll mostly still get hit by it. It's too wide at that point, and it was coming too fast. And if I just tried to vault this way, I think I still would have gotten hit by at least the W. And I knew I could avoid both if I instead just walked slightly further, so that then I could vault diagonally up and away, and that would get me the most like distance away from it, just based on the angle that it was coming at. And so I had to be really patient on using my E there in order to dodge both of those spells, I believe. He didn't really holler at this, he just said nice, which, I mean, hey, I knew it was a good play. I've made it before, but I think that's a good thing to highlight as like, the correct thing to do in that situation is walk slightly and then vault diagonally this way, rather than vault immediately like perpendicular to it this way, or just immediately back across. Granted, I would probably get killed up by Lucio anyway, but yeah. So then I mentioned that we're holding off on doing the camp until the Immortal objective pops.
I think we were waiting on the objective to pop before we tried to do it.
As soon as this hits, though, you guys basically have to go here, unless you.
So he says, as soon as this hits, though, you have to go here, this is where the miscommunication is, right? And I'm saying my team is saying we're never going here. We're only going here. And so, yeah, we both agreed that this is what we were waiting on. Of what you immediately, as soon as this pops, you immediately take a camp, right? I understand that, but it was like my team is calling the wrong camp, and so I'm just going along with the call at that point. You know, three of my teammates are going to do that,
So
and
if
I
you're like
can't go
doing it at
solo this
50,
camp at
but at
level 4.
50 it's
So.
race point, so you guys will just lose the
But
objective.
I
Going down here is
understand
not,
that this camp
right?
is better to
So you
take
guys
than
should
this
be on
camp.
your fallen shaman instead, because this camp is just not as good blow for blow.
Yeah, so I disagreed with the call, but I mean, the rest of my team was going to do that camp, so.
Yeah. And being able to step up and use your Q whenever you can, this is good.
I should go stand back in the bush, but
They can still see you.
This is something that, again, I think there was a little bit of miscommunication. I think it was also just because it was late at the end of the sessions for Caller for today. Is he goes back and forth on this a lot, and I think it's pretty obvious that I should stand in the bush because it gives me vision if I'm standing in the bush. And if I'm not standing in the bush, they could just walk in the bush and I don't have vision of them until they're right on top of me. Like, that seems obvious to me in hindsight, but it's also the call that I'm noticing in myself or whatever.
If they,
So
if they're
getting
in
getting
vision
the
of
bottom
bush,
camp
they'll be able
was
to see
mistake
you
number
with
one,
that.
pretty much, that I had
oh,
written in my
gotcha.
notes.
Well, because like the
This was
arrows
something
will
I
be
just
coming out, so
noticed
it doesn't
at the
really
time
matter.
of watching the replay.
They'll know
This
you're
is
Well, I
there.
just meant to see
spontaneous.
if they're rotating up to try and catch me or
Oh,
something.
okay. Yeah, that is better if you're there. But then you can't see them on this side or this side. So it's not that it's better, it's just different because you can see them from here, but if you're here, you can't see them from here. But it gives you enough time to respond. If they come this way, you can at least vault out this way. So I guess this is just better in general. Geez, that's close. I guess they've got Grey Mane, it makes sense.
Yeah, this is a really close first Immortal.
Oh, and yeah, you had Blaze top the entire time. This is the value of that camp, man. Like, you had to pull Blaze up there, but he's going to be here for this one, so you guys should win this quite handily.
It's good that he mentions I don't use W and E here, because
I say quite handily.
that was
It's
definitely
super
something that,
close. Oh my gosh.
especially E, I
Okay,
tend to
nice.
hold on to it. It's weird because until I get the
Yeah,
level
This
7,
was like the first thing that.
until I get the level 7, I hold on to it too much, I think. And once I get level 7, I don't hold on to it enough, so that was a weird sort of opposite end of the problem to both have, both extremes of the problem. But that was a good thing to learn. It's like, you should be using spells on the Immortal and things like that. So this, it's hard to unpack this. For one, I think the Immortal is going bottom for some reason when I go down here. I don't really understand that it's the opposite lane of where the Immortal is. So for some reason, I think the Immortal is going bottom. Like, I can clearly see that it's going top. I don't understand why I made that mistake in the game. I'm saying this in the moment of the game. So I think the Immortal is coming bottom. So that's why I want to push the wave, is because I want to clear the wave so that the Immortal is immediately on the structures, and we have a wave alongside it. The Immortal is actually going top, so I'm very obviously wrong here. I know it's wrong to go bottom at this point. But, so this was number 2 main mistake that I had written in my notes. But, I think regardless, my team should immediately go on the wave and not fight, because currently we're up a level. We just won the Immortal. We want to push with it. If we all just fight and we, trade 4 for 4 or something, we're not going to get as much value out of the Immortal. The Immortal is valuable because you can push alongside it, and it's basically like having a 6v5, right? Whereas if it's a 1v2, you can't really get the pressure of having the extra person as much, because instead of having 5 people pushing alongside it, you only have 1. So, I still generally disagree that fighting here is correct. I think going for the globes makes some amount of sense. Trying to get a pick makes some amount of sense. I agree I should be here trying to get a couple stacks on my queue, especially if they're also going to contest it. I don't think they should contest it. I don't know why they would be doing that. It should definitely be Blaze going bottom. I think the rest of my team should be going top and clearing the wave, and maybe trying to get a pick on the rotation up, sort of. Right? Like, the globes aren't that important, I think. Because I would be lower mana, I understand the importance of them more, and especially with Diablo, I can understand that as well, and the rest of my team does need mana, so winning these globes is important. I think trying to get the globes makes sense. Trying to fight over the globes makes less sense, I think, generally. This is what I got out of this, but he goes over this for a while as to what I do wrong here, and it's a lot of combination of issues of, like I said, uh, for some reason thinking the Immortal is going to the wrong lane, which then leads me to being in a bad position. My team fighting when I don't think they should. Like, there's a lot of combinations of
I don't
factors
know why they're
happening
fighting
here.
They're fighting for the globes.
I mean, everyone's topped. Like, I don't really see the importance in getting the globes.
Devil's Due is huge for Diablo. If he can get those globes and you guys can start a fight, it's actually decent. I agree, it's not like the best place to fight, but the onus is basically on your opponents to do something. Let's look.
My mentality was, I want the soak from bottom wave, and I don't want the Immortal to like be killing the minion wave or whatever. I want it to get onto the wall in the fort.
I mean, if you're here, you guys wipe all of them, like straight up,
Yeah.
or like 2 or 3 of them.
This wasn't like called either. This was just like the other.
Yeah, so again, I mentioned that none of my teammates said that we're going to fight over the globes. For some reason, the rest of my team decided to do this, and that's especially weird to me. I think, again, I don't think my opponents should be fighting over these either. And so I think if he says you come here and you immediately get a bunch of kills, I think that's wrong because I don't think my opponents are ever going to a position where they just get engaged on by Diablo and Blaze like that and just killed immediately. Like, they got a kill without me being there, you know? So I don't think that should happen. So I think saying we get kills here is like, as a certainty, is necessarily correct. Again, I think my opponents should just back off, focus on defending. They don't need to fight here, especially either. So, especially if they're recognizing that we're wanting to fight and get quest stacks, and we have Diablo so that we can fight a bit more powerfully than they can, they should realize that a fight here is a bad idea for them. Especially because we're going to hit 7 first. And this is also kind of in combination of we should have gotten our other camp so that bottom should have had more pressure on it, so that they would need to have sent someone to defend bottom more, and then the Immortal race wouldn't have been as close, and like a lot of different combinations of things here. So you can see how a small mistake of like just taking the wrong camp or things like that can snowball into a larger disparity in how the game turns out versus how it actually should have gone. So yeah.
The other 4 of my team were all on the same page to do this, and I didn't. I don't know.
No, like what you did is perfectly fine too, but I always see if I can get these globes. Like you could have done it too. You could have got a little bit of extra mana because you did spend some mana over here. Where are you at? Wait, how are you full?
Because the Q reduction on.
Yeah, but what about your W? What about your E?
I don't think I'm using W or E on the Immortal. I probably should have since it was that close, but.
Absolutely, you should always, if you know they're in a full race environment, absolutely do it. More shields, more shield, right?
Right.
It's a resource you have, so let's use it. Yeah, you should be using your W, E for the extra damage too. Okay, that makes sense now.
I actually like that Kala doesn't really focus on this as much. He doesn't need to tell me this is wrong, right? It's pretty easy for me to be like, oh, I should just use W and E on the Immortal. Especially if we're in a race. Like, I even realized it before like he even points it out almost halfway. When he just is like, how are you that high mana or whatever. It just takes me a second to be like, oh, I'm not using them on the Immortal. And I should be, especially when it's that close. So I like that he kind of doesn't focus on this because like I feel like a bad coach, in a sense, would just be like, this is dumb, this is wrong for like 10 different reasons, and he would like harp on it for like 5 minutes or whatever. And College just kind of realizes like he understands at this point that like I have decent mechanics or whatever. I can stutter step, I can dodge, skill shots, you know, whatever. I generally know how to play my hero. I'm going the right build, things like that. That he's like, oh, this guy knows it's wrong. He's gonna fix it in the future. Move on. And so I just think that's a compliment to Collar or whatever, being a good coach of recognizing when your student has understood the concept and just moving on, not focusing on it, because at that point it's just like making them feel worse for no bad or for no reason. And that's something that I think a lot of worse coaches might have done.
It's tough. I mean, you can be here, but your team gets value anyways, and then you get split value. So this is just even better. It really is. Like if you get a kill here, that's fantastic. You're also able to get stacks up too. I
That's true.
personally think
That's
it
a
would have been
good
better
point.
for you to just be here and just throw some spells in here to help your team secure these globes. Because, um, yeah, Cassie needs the globes, Diablo needs the globes. Actually, everyone on your team needs them. Okay, you have vision here. Absolutely join in on this fight.
Yeah, mounting up here
Yeah, I
was
shouldn't have
bad.
mounted up. That was
Yeah.
slower.
Oh, this guy. Wait, don't you kill this guy?
I think I expected his team was closer.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, you don't see them at all, and you have no vision. That's fine. You... Jeez, this thing just gets bodied.
So that's the reason why fighting isn't good, because then you don't
So
have
I
people
think
to push
the
with the immortal,
whole...
right? So
Okay, so you got a couple of problems here. The way that this should go, this isn't your job to push out bottom. I'm actually going to back up, and I think this will help you in the future. So let's look here. You have a solo laner in Blaze. It's his job to catch side soak, not yours. Your job is to push with the objective at this point. I know it's super weak, but still, you can get your stacks on Q. It should be you here and Blaze coming down. But the fact that Blaze is still here is fine. You don't need to push this out because it's not crashing. You're not losing XP. All it does is just give you a little bit of an advantage. But the problem being is you stay down here the whole time, and then the objective just completely goes to waste. What should happen is you guys should do this little skirmish, grab the globes, get the kill, Blaze immediately down bottom, and then off the kill, off the globes, you all go top.
Yeah, that makes more sense. After we had the little like fight bottom side, we just kind of stayed.
I
down
think
there
fighting
instead
over
of
the
going
globes
with the
here
immortal,
makes
'cause that
some
would've been
amount
too
of
slow.
sense. I don't think we're going to get a kill
Right
off
here,
that if
like, this should be
our
you.
enemies are better.
Up here too, fighting, and then instantly Blaze goes bottom, and you all go top.
It's the second engage
So-
from Diablo here that I think then creates a second hand problem of then us wanting to stay bottom because it takes too long to rotate top. And so it's better to get value bottom while we're there than waste time 30 seconds running top, and the immortal's basically going to be dead by that point, and then we don't have anything to do off of it. But again, he's focusing on my play. He's not really focusing on my team at this point. This is pretty funny.
Does he really get that? Yeah, I mean, if you're here, you guys can even like pressure up on the fort, but at least you get something done bottom. So this is the mentality I want to make sure you don't carry forward for very long. Thinking like this has happened now in every single game that I've looked at today, except for maybe Genji's, but thinking that you have to do everything. This bottom wave is not your responsibility. Yes, it does give you a little bit of an advantage, but don't think that it is your responsibility to catch it.
This is going to come up multiple times in this game.
Perfect. I hope it does. Wait, how does he take 0 damage from that? What?
I think he focuses on this a little bit too much, but I can understand his want to, especially if he thinks there's maybe a potential for a bug.
The second Q goes on.
That
the
would be
fort.
very good to
Yeah, but even
determine.
the first one, he's just taking no damage. I guess he's got some armor, but I think that hurts way more than that. He's not even in Morgan.
He doesn't
form.
really mention that I'm still
This
trading
is
with him
much
right
more too
here,
hard
and
again.
that this could have been a kill.
Yeah.
I think especially, he doesn't mention that after I get engaged on there, and then I misplay the engagement by vaulting the wrong direction. I'm probably going to call it tumble at some point in here, but I know it's vault. It's just because I played Vayne in League, which I'll also mention later, because somebody asks it in chat. And I missed my Q. So this would have led to a kill, but after I misplay the first engagement and I'm up here, as I'm walking back, I'm still stutter stepping and hitting him the entire time, which is how he gets this low. And Uther is out of mana, which is mainly why I was trading that whole time, is I had 0 threat, pretty much. Especially with my Lucio right there, that I could trade pretty easily onto both of them. You know, Uther's melee for one, that makes it a lot easier, but also being out of mana, you know, just putting more pressure on them, making them, now that they don't have a fountain, putting pressure on them means that they're going to have to waste a lot of time or recall, which also wastes a lot of time. It's not recall, it's Hearthstone, in order to get the health and mana back. So yeah, because my opponent like engages on me when he shouldn't have, I could have gotten a kill, but again, a smarter opponent probably would have realized that his Uther was out of mana and that he couldn't engage, and he wouldn't have done that, and so I wouldn't have gotten a kill there, but he still highlights that I misplay that slightly, but
And the vault should have been backward.
Yeah.
We had the question in chat, what do you do if your side laner refuses to side lane?
but you
Though?
can
I
see
mean,
I
that's
get
a different
5
question. Then you
autos
have to
after
make
the
the
vault, I
choice of,
believe.
are you going to gain more value by splitting off and clearing minion waves, or can you win team fights? I don't know, man. This looked weird. I feel like this guy takes no damage. Am I crazy? I've seen some bugs on this patch. This is a very, very buggy patch. I'm looking at this more in depth. Where are we? Oh, of course I can't even. 8.
Something also
1500 health. Okay, 17.
Something also to mention is currently my quest is at 3 stacks. It's just about to get 4 off this queue. Kala doesn't mention that or keep track of it at all during this, or at least he doesn't mention it. He maybe keeps track of it visually and just never mentions it. I'm not sure whether he thinks that I completed the quest in a timely manner, or I should have tried to stack it faster, or whether I focused too much on stacking it and played too aggressive with, especially using Vault to reset Q to stack it faster, things like that. He didn't mention it at all, and I think that would have been something good to bring up potentially. But I think it was mostly fine the way I did it. It was maybe not, the fastest quest completion ever, but I used my Vault mostly safely to stack it, and I don't remember exactly when I get it stacked. Probably around 7-8 minutes, I think. Actually, no, I think this one was longer. I don't remember exactly when I finished stacking it this game. We'll maybe see. I'll maybe catch it, but that would have been potentially something to bring up that just didn't really get mentioned.
Okay, it does a little bit. Okay, it does do
I
damage.
E-auto on the fountain.
Yeah, but I mean, even it looked like the first one barely did any damage to him. But that's fine. It actually did end up being like 300 points of damage.
We probably could have killed him if I hadn't missed the Q off the vault too.
Yep. Yep.
See, so now they both have to hearth.
I love this hero. I just wish she were better.
Yeah, she's kind of just worse than Phoenix most of the time now.
Yeah.
He also doesn't mention that I do QEQ there and then immediately mount up. And that I know that's something that he's brought up a lot in other people's replays is just mounting up like constantly, being on your mount, being on your mount, being on your mount. It's a little bit different with Valla because you want to keep hatred stacks, and so you actually want to be dismounted a lot more than other heroes because you want to constantly be autoing, and it's kind of weird because you actually also want to like leave walls up sometimes or attack minion waves slower so that the next wave can get to you in time so that you keep the hatred stacks. You can see I let them drop here while we're on the fort. So that's something that you can pretty much always do better at for the most part, and it's a little bit tricky to do sometimes. You can actually, if you like immediately auto and then immediately mount up, you can mount and walk for a little while before the hatred stack is gone. I forget exactly what the duration on it is. I want to say 5 seconds, but that seems too long. So maybe it's like 3 or 4. But you can mount up and walk for a little while and then auto attack and still keep the hatred stacks going. So it is a good habit to get into. It's especially helpful if you're going to be playing Urel with Divine Steed, as that will probably be really strong once people learn how to do it more frequently. It's like stutter stepping with mounting in between that you're able to do. So yeah, that's just something also to notice.
And Hanzo. Okay, let's get the heck out of here. This is sketchy. Were you walking for one more auto? That was bad.
So again, at this point, Li Ming is right here. This is before she teleports. She's right here. I am running. I have basically a wall below me. If I run this way, I'm kind of boxing myself in, especially if I walk through here or walk through here, then I'm against the wall, which is bad. And if I walk into this bush, then I have to go all the long way around, and that's pretty easy for them to, telegraph where I'm going to be at that point. So at this point, my only option is to run pretty much sideways, and I want to stay above the wall a little bit so that I still have room to move down if I need to. So the Li Ming, I didn't expect that she would teleport onto me. That seemed a bit over aggressive actually from her part, But at this point, I'm this whole way back. As soon as I do that auto and then I get slowed and then I see that the team is coming in, this whole time I'm thinking Leeming is gonna shoot spells at me, right? I'm the prime target for Leeming to shoot spells at, right? So um, I'm predicting these spells like probably 5 seconds in advance. Maybe not quite that much. I'm not sure exactly what the time difference is here, but at least a solid like 3 seconds that I'm predicting this. I just use my vault, I believe, to get out of the fort auto range and to get movement while I'm slowed, because then I get more distance and the slow duration doesn't affect me as much because the duration ticks down while I'm still moving at normal speed with the vault. I believe that's how that works. I'm not sure. Some movement abilities are affected by slows and some aren't. I believe Valla's isn't, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyway, so this whole time I'm predicting when these spells are coming out. So I think this would have been good to highlight as like, if you can 100% predict what your enemy's going to do, it makes it 10 times easier to do the thing to not get hit by it. So this whole time I'm expecting Leeming is going to shoot her spells. I'm walking very deliberately in a single direction here so that I can very easily juke this and sidestep it and not get hit. So that's immediately pretty much what happens. Whoops.
Nice sidestep. I know
Is
you're
sidestep
probably
comes in
looking
and
to keep
I
your hatred up, but the
don't get
medium
hit.
wave was right here. You didn't have to do that.
So I think it would have been good to highlight as like, every player should be able to predict the Leeming spells there and sidestep that. Like, that's a very simple thing that you should learn to do, and that will immediately, like, it almost doubles your health bar as soon as you do that. Like, the significance of that is, like, I can't understate it really, how that, like, simple concept of just, like, stutter stepping and sidestepping things, like, it doubles your damage output and it doubles your health bar. Maybe even, like, triples it. Like, the difference between doing that and not doing that is actually pretty insane. And the difference, like, it's so noticeable, it's massive.
Ooh, perfect.
Oh, my video's stuttering
You
here.
could have queued him and then eat up the. Ooh,
There we
perfect.
go. So I get hit by the Leeming W
You
at
could
the
have
very back
queued
there.
him and then eat up this way and dodge the Leeming spells as
So, yep,
well.
it's good
But that's
macro
just kind of
adjustment to
very specific
do.
follow damage on this guy.
So, again, I think Kala, as a little bit of feedback, you should be on my hero more so that you can notice my cooldowns, because at this point, I'm holding on to W, right? Again, I'm trying to wait for the Uther armor to time out so that I can get the most value from my spells as I can. And so at this point, I realize that he's likely going to be out of range. I'm kind of getting body blocked by my own team a little bit here, which also, that fight when we first killed ETC, I believe I was also probably going to get body blocked by my team a little bit, which is generally why I kind of pathed up and then diagonally, was just to get away from my team so that I could stutter step and get more distance from the stutter stepping rather than getting body blocked and potentially missing autos and potentially him living. That's just generally something like, at this point, it's like instinct. So it's like, it's not something that I'm necessarily consciously thinking about, but it is something that it's kind of like I said, it's an instinct that I've built up as just like a thing that I will instinctively do to just eliminate potential issues as much as possible and secure kills in the generally the most safest, guaranteed way as I can. So here if he's looking at my hero, he'll understand that these are low and I haven't used spells yet, especially my W. I believe I have an E here as well, which then is a Q. And so I should be able to secure 2 of these kills here. Ling is going to teleport here in a second, but you can see I get a W. Oh, he seeks away from it right as I'm doing it. So that's also why he doesn't really realize
No, I actually think
that
the
those are
health
pretty much
targets are fine.
guaranteed kills at these points. Okay, so I just used my E
We have
there.
the question, why does Hanzo Valla comparison come up so much? He seems way more magey than her. Just because their job on this map is the same.
This is also something I was going to mention is, just from this comment on chat, is part of the reason I'm less comfortable on Hanzo is that he doesn't feel as fluid to play, to me, just playstyle wise, especially without Redemption stacked. Once he has Redemption stacked, it's a bit more playable for me, but if you notice when I was talking about how much I'm clicking my mouse and I use A on my keyboard to do the attack move click, is that I'm very, I wouldn't say frantic, but I'm very active in the actions I'm doing, and I'm constantly trying to stutter step and do things like that. And so Hanzo, with his slower auto recharge speed and things like that, it just feels less fluid to me to play him, and that's part of the reason why I'm less comfortable on him, is that his playstyle, I think, doesn't really fit as much. And so while yes, their comparison is pretty common, I think there's also a comparison to be made of if your play style is a lot more similar to mine, where I play like Lunara and Raynor and Sylvanas and Valla and Phoenix, heroes that are moving in between autos, like every auto, and they have a pretty consistent auto attack speed or a faster one generally. Is that Hanzo is a little bit, I wouldn't say clunky, but he's like harder to adapt to if you're used to those. I think he feels less fluid to play for me, so that's the reason I'm less comfortable with him. So that comparison, I can to me, I feel like that's a very, unless I just like one trick Hanzo, that's something that'll be hard for me to break or hard for me to get comfortable with. So that's more of a playstyle difference than as the reason why. Even though they fulfill the same role in this on this map especially, and are sort of similar in other ways. That would maybe be the main reason that I would say that I'm less comfortable on him, even though they are semi-similar, I would say. So I believe it's going to highlight me now, and so now you can see that I have spells up in 2 seconds and a W still. So I'm generally trying to wait on this Uther thing to time out. It's got about half a second left before I W.
Ah, that's why.
Oh, I still W just to secure the kill first. And my Diablo was charging in, and that would have secured the kill also. I think I did that because even though I would have gotten the W when he still had the armor, I recognized that I would have had QEQ to secure this kill. I was never planning to dive and kill these two. I thought they could get away. I wanted to just secure the ETC and the Leeming.
Oh, nice.
Or not the Leeming, the Greymane, sorry. But after my tank charges in, and then they keep walking. Like at this point, I was just trying to get autos to finish him off. I needed to get past the minion wave so I could just QEQ, and then I could walk back and we could take the fort. But with the rest of my team going at this point, I pretty much have to follow them. I can't get stuck over here, right? That's very bad because then it's 3-on-3 essentially, sort of, and you're stuck between a fort and a keep wall. Like it's a very bad position for my team to be over here without me. So at this point, the ETC gets away safely, and he's healing up or whatever. But I recognize that Leeming is now just got a heal or whatever, and so this is all the health she's going to get. She's in auto attack range. I've been auto attacking her. I have a QEQ, so she can die. So I Q here first. She blinks away. So then I have to E and then Q and change the angle on it to get this kill.
Going really deep here.
She dies though. Nice.
Just need one more auto on it. Very easy. I
right,
even get a poke on the ETC on the way out.
There.
And here
So,
I think it's pretty obvious that you killed the fort. I think my team just objectively makes the wrong call here.
I feel like everyone should
I think I should actually
fort.
QEQ
That's
this
what I felt.
instead of QEQing the ETC. I think I was trying to get stacks.
But now
I actually can still kill him regardless, especially locking in ult, and I should definitely ult here, and he would die.
Why are you using your ult?
I think I tried ult there, and I actually get interrupted by the knockback. I would have to really double check,
Yeah,
but I
you
know
killed
I
him for 100% free.
maybe tried to. I know I definitely get interrupted
locking
after I
him
do the
now.
first ult. I get interrupted on
ulting
the
now,
second
just
ult,
literally right
so
in his face.
which
Auto
potentially
attack
would have
kills him.
allowed me to kill him anyway. So
Here.
yeah, at this point my team does weird stuff and I get
relives
stuck.
for
So now I have to
ever.
trade one for one.
Another one.
So this right there gets interrupted by
Yeah,
the
he would have died
stun
off that for
off
sure.
Uther. So
I
yeah,
think I still would have died,
slight
but yeah.
mechanical misplay from me, but
Kill off of it is
way bigger
good.
misplay from my
Yeah.
team.
That one was tough. You could have cut it up with your team.
So
that way.
I'm
That's
pretty
true.
sure that kiting
But
up
to
with
me,
my
it
team
looked
there
like
is
that's
wrong.
actually just go back
And I
because
don't think my
saw
team
what
should
you
kite
saw
up there
too.
either. And I'm actually really glad that Kala says no. Like you were right. I saw exactly what you saw. Like I feel like this is pretty confident that
Okay,
I actually
so
made the correct
Jason,
decision
this
here.
is insane.
This is insane. Yeah, this probably shouldn't have ever happened. They're actually playing up way too far. Like why is Leeming still walking forward there? I have no real idea.
Now immediately everyone should just jump onto this fort.
ET or Diablo can actually just walk this way.
He dies in like no time.
Because
yeah,
he's
Diablo dies,
possibly
that
going to die
sucks,
anyway. But
if anyone else's damage comes on this,
I
you
don't
guys
know.
are perfectly fine.
I don't know, man.
Yeah,
They
we had
just
the
made the
wave
wrong
coming
decision
in,
here.
like,
Yeah.
right
This
then.
fort was pretty easy.
Yeah.
I mean, I killed it on my own, so it's obviously free. But
Or you could have just backed out this way.
yeah, then I have to trade a kill, and I actually misplay because I don't trade the kill that I should have.
Yeah, Diablo could have
Been
got
able
some
to
damage
trade.
on it too. Okay. Meanwhile, we got the boy up here. Is he Incinerator?
Oh, you're probably gonna hate what I do right now.
Oh god.
Okay, so this was the main third and most important mistake that I noticed in my game, was what I'm about to do, which is try to solo the camp. Now, Valla can solo the camp, but it's not easy. And I think I can do it easier than I can. because I'm only level 10. I think normally when you're closer to 13, it's a lot more doable when you get the healing talent. You'll see here that I take the healing off of having hatred, which allows you to solo the camp easier. So I'm used to doing that because taking the Q heal talent, which is what Kala tells me to do, and I have started doing, and I think it's closer than it is, but I actually think the hatred healing is fairly strong as well, especially in Hero League where your team might not always help you to do camps and things, and your healers are maybe gonna not prioritize you as much as they should and things like that. And so against this team specifically, I think the Q healing is good because they are very bursty. But I think in general you can get a decent amount of value off the W healing, or not W, but the trait healing, whatever. I think this could have been a Gloom game also, but I don't know. It's tough. I think either one of the 3 talents here were fine. But basically, you can't really do the camp until you at least have 13, or generally something else is like helping you. So I try and solo the camp here. Now the reason for this is, and I don't elaborate on this because I know it's wrong, but the mentality I have when I'm doing it is they're going to clear this and it's going to go halftime.
Gosh, you're dead. You can't do anything. You're going to type to your teammates and call them boosted.
Okay, no, no.
And so their
After
team
I-
peels off of the Immortals
You
here.
Yeah, I played.
They're
I
not
played
racing
Ring
it.
in League. I almost int. I do the closest thing to inting without dying that I could possibly do.
Right? They completely peel off the Immortal. For some reason, they think I'm here and I'm racing with it right now. So it's going to get halftime. Their Immortal is full health.
Oh, geez.
So the reason that I'm doing this camp is specifically that their whole team has peeled off and shown bottom and top. So I recognize that we are not in a race situation. And so my mentality is killing the Immortal faster keeps it the exact same health when we get it. We're going to get the Immortal pretty much regardless. But if we get the Immortal and I solo a camp, then we not only get a full health Immortal, we get a full health Immortal and a camp, right? And we've already pushed bottom for it, so I know 100% at this point I'm not going to make that mistake a second time in a game. I know it's going top, right? I understand that. So, at this point, the reason I'm taking this camp is that I think doing the Immortal as fast as possible is not important when I could instead get a camp and an Immortal, and that will get us a, super strong victory or whatever, and we'll be up probably 11-9 at that point. And so we'll be able to push and probably get the keep wall, if not maybe get the keep, depending on if we can pick a kill off or two. If our enemies aren't defending very well, because they're going to have the Immortal, and they're going to have to send somebody bot to deal with the camp that I'm getting, right? So that's my mentality getting this. Now, because I take so much damage doing this camp, and it takes me so long to do it, that's the wrong decision, but that's my mentality. I'm elaborating on what my mentality is of why I'm doing this. So,
Come on,
Yeah,
not
this
on
is-
because I don't think
stream.
it's very clear probably to a lot of people,
Don't
and
do
I think
it.
it's an easy mistake to make, as like recognizing that they're never killing my Immortal
this
right
is
now.
actually
right?
a huge
So,
problem.
we're still going to get a full health Immortal pretty much
Jeez.
out
I
of
feel
this.
like I'll never
They
do
just
this
start doing
again,
this, but
Okay.
it's
and I learned, but
very
yeah,
slow. So I can definitely tap
'Cause
here.
y-
I think I recall. I don't
You would
recognize the
have,
Immortal
aim
positioning
back
really.
too.
I
Do
still
not
think it's swapped
tap.
so that the
No, dude,
other
come
Immortal is on the other one.
I
Again,
felt
I'm,
like
I'm
I was
making
too
bad
low to
mistakes this
tap.
game. This is one
No,
of
you're
my
fine.
worst
You
games
see
to
them
play,
all.
obviously.
They're
I sent him a
racing.
loss. I sent him a game where I had
You
made
need
clear
to be on
mistakes.
this. This is your
Um,
job. Literally, this is your job.
because
This
I
is your,
felt
like,
like that would
only
be better
job
for
on
me to
this
learn
map,
from, because a
Leo,
mistake where I play well,
is to kill the
or a game where I play well and don't really make a lot of mistakes, is less good for learning, because at that point it's kind of like I maybe still have bad habits or I still have bad game knowledge, but the enemy team just isn't exploiting it, or the rest of my team is still playing well enough, or they're calling things for me so that those whatever uh, less strong areas of mine aren't getting highlighted as much, so they're less hard for Kala to recognize and then highlight for me to fix. So yeah, this is obviously a game that I played pretty bad on. This is like an exceptionally bad game in my terms of my standards. But that's why I sent it, so
Immortal.
I can recognize that this is wrong. I pretty much recognize
I need to look how
that
much
it's
time
wrong
we waste.
halfway doing the camp, but
It's
once
a
I've
lot.
halfway started the
Okay,
camp, I don't
so
want to
It's gotta
quit
be like
doing the camp.
45 seconds.
If we lose this game, this is why. I'm not even joking. Because, okay, right at 34.
And I think Call is completely correct in saying that this probably loses the game. Me taking so long to do this, because now they get their Immortal down, I would say 60% of the way before I'm here racing.
It's a lot of time.
I wasted a lot of time by recalling instead of tapping as well.
Over half a minute.
But yeah, I both thought I could solo the camp faster and not take as much damage.
You also get stunned by the
And
circle.
well, yeah, that was. I don't think I was looking at my hero at that point, but yeah.
So here, I should definitely go on Leeming and Thrall mainly, and Uther a little bit to an extent. I vault up and then I get jumped on by Greymane and things like that. This is just bad target selection. This is just bad mechanics here. Is I Q and then I E away, but they're blinded, and I'm Eing towards their tank, which is bad, and I'm Eing away from my team, which is also bad. And so this is just the wrong way to E. I should E sort of diagonally forward this way, and I could poke the Li Ming maybe with a Q and a W, and maybe she dies from that if she doesn't get healed. Or I can just be pumping damage into Thrall fairly safely. Uther is below me, but even if he stuns me, Greymane's probably going to jump on me at that point, but then I have my Lucio in range to heal me. I have my Blaze and Cassia to peel for me and things like that. So, yeah, this positioning was just
This
bad.
actually throws the game into a huge.
We have our Lucio positioning up, our
cluster
Cassia
dust.
positioning
I could
down.
go
We
down
just get
here,
split
but I
like
still
in
think our
3 different
positioning is
spots
pretty
here, and it's really bad. I'm a
Greymane
spot
is
on my own,
frustrating.
so that's obviously bad. We should be splitting at most 2 here. You know, I'm not in charge of what Lucio's doing, so I can't really affect that. Diablo getting caught there is also
You can hit
probably
Thrall
bad, but
too. Oh, you just vault.
yeah,
Even though
so
you're
I
Q build,
should
you can't
definitely be able
vault
to
like
kill
that.
Thrall there, I'm pretty sure, and
You have
probably
to
also the
still
Li Ming
save
with
it.
a multi-shot over the wall if she's going to path
Unless it's
that
like
way.
1,000,000,000% free, but in the heat of a team fight like that, you can't do it. You have to save it.
Yep, so I should
Your
kill
heroic
Thrall,
isn't enough of a tool to get you out of
but I used the first Q on
harm's way.
Greymane, and so then I E to try and get the second Q on Greymane at this point. And now I'm too far away from my team. So normally if
So, like,
you
you should
have
have a
Rain of
vault
Vengeance to
immediately
peel
this
for
way,
yourself,
and then
it's
another
like
Q,
mostly
and then he's
fine.
going to
I
probably
should
go for
save
the
E
throat
more
for
than
a
I
gap
do,
push,
especially
and
in
you
this
just ult
fight.
and then walk away. How hard does the shaman camp go on bot? Not hard at all, because they just kill us all, and then they go and depush it. No problem.
So yeah, this is again why I don't think fighting after you win the Immortal is a good idea, because we just won like a 60% shield Immortal. Why aren't we just pushing with it? Why are we fighting over globes? You know, I don't understand that. I think this is wrong generally. I do. I think it's wrong. I think if you win an Immortal, you back up and then you push with it, because you just get like a bunch of free structures at that point. Fighting and dying, you know, this Immortal is going to get the fort, but it's not going to get nearly as much as it could have. And now, especially because we all died, they have time to go clear the Shaman camp because the Immortal doesn't push very fast on its own. It's going to be sitting top on that fort for probably a solid 30 seconds, 45 seconds before it starts slowly walking down the lane. And they can be poking it. Greymane can be hitting it the whole time while it's walking down the lane. So, yeah. Anyway, because it took me like 30, 45 seconds to solo that camp, if they send one person to clear it and it takes them less than 45 seconds to clear it, that's just straight up, I wasted more time than they wasted. And that's bad. And it gets a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of siege damage, but that's really not important.
It probably gets some of the wall.
Especially because if I had been
I
attacking the
mean,
Mortal
if they take
and
less
it had
than
a
30
higher
seconds
shield,
to clear
that probably
it,
gets
like,
more siege
with one
damage than
person,
this camp does anyway.
it's
And
not worth
so,
it, probably.
yep,
Okay, this was a huge turning point.
correct.
Yeah, it gets 0 value.
That was the largest misplay that I had made.
Top
Yeah,
of
so I
the
thought
four.
we
Probably
were
in
pretty
a solid
solidly
100
ahead
games or so, to
until
be honest.
that
So,
whole sequence.
Just remember, your main job is this. Especially when it's in race, and especially when your team is defending like that.
so we ping to do the camp. We should wait until we're 13 to do this, I think. But it's a good
13.
idea.
I actually think it would just be smarter for you guys to push out bottom and try to do some damage onto
Correct.
the
I agree with
wall
Kala.
or clear top at the same time. This seems just overly aggressive. Oh, nice. Did you? I don't even think you meant to do that, but that was hot.
I was just doing it to interrupt the disintegrate. Yeah.
That was good. Okay, there you go. You redeemed yourself by carrying a team fight, but man, this game would be a different game if you sat on the Immortal the entire time. You guys got your 13s now.
Because not only would we
Yeah, you
have
still
more
get
damage
bottom
on the
wall
bottom
for some of
structures,
it.
we would have had more damage on the top structures.
Honestly, just tower
And
it
then
out.
this camp, while they're having to defend bot,
You do have to be more cautious about your vaults, though. That is one thing that will seriously get you into trouble.
Yeah, I'm noticing that.
And it kind of your build baits you because your Q build, and it makes
so I
you
complete the quest there at 1040, and we're level 13. That's fine, I guess.
feel
Could
like
be
you
better.
should be able to use it
I
more
probably
often.
misplayed. I definitely missed
Thank you.
probably a solid 2, 3, 4 Qs. in the mid game, so I could
I'm
probably have
trying too
completed
hard
that
again.
closer to
Here.
around level 10 or 11
There.
reasonably.
That was
This
the
is also
play.
just really dumb. Like, this is something that you realize
Hey,
you
Wait,
press the
I'm
E key and then
Riokaii.
you
You're
realize
probably
you're
wondering
dumb
how I got here.
immediately as soon as you press it.
Classic
So,
movie
yeah.
entrance. But oh, this. Why do you go this talent?
I guess I felt like I wasn't really dying to the Li Ming that often.
Yeah. But your full Q build. You should go siphoning
Oh.
arrow.
I tried that for a few games. It never felt that useful to me.
Dude, it's so good.
Like, if anything, I would have gone Spell Armor here if I hadn't gone.
Yes. So these are
The
the two
autos.
talents you go. This one you never go. Just saying. this
So again,
was fine.
sidestepping
You
the leaning
interrupt,
spells.
but
I have to just leave at this
you
point. I
guys
can't
see
just
it,
contest
leave,
with
You
ETC.
see the hatred in your eyes.
I can actually maybe poke her with
Yeah,
Qs as
definitely
I'm
go- I
retreating,
would
but
personally go heal from
it's iffy.
Q, but against a Sundering and a Li Ming, there's a decent chance I go Gloom as well.
he should never be here. He should be, like, dead. Like, Ether can just walk up and stun him for the most part. Honestly, Greymane should be hitting him, probably. He should have been dead.
Okay,
Like, they can
in
just
a
peel
few
off for
seconds
all of
here.
2 seconds and kill him. And then go back on the Immortal, and it's going to be halftime anyway.
I'm curious to see what you think about this call sort of here.
Grabbing this.
Well, and what happens after, what I decide to do after, yeah.
So number one, Diablo should be here.
So I wasn't sure that grabbing this camp was the right call. But they kind of peeled off instead of going immediately for our Immortal, which is what I would have expected them to do in that situation. I'm not entirely sure that it was correct, but I think it worked out pretty well given the circumstance. I'm not sure given the same information that it's the right call, but knowing how it turns out, I think it works out well. So Kala doesn't really elaborate on it that much, but I still am a little bit iffy on this camp call here. I do agree that Diablo probably, or maybe Blaze, but one of the two should be anchoring up here, defending the Immortal, but
Here.
whatever.
But this is absolutely fine to do. This is actually a decent time to get Fallen Shaman if you have the time to do it. When the Immortals spawn defensively, and you're no rush to be aggressive, then you guys would just straight up have a camp over your opponents at this point. But Diablo needs to be here to stop them from walking in. And then you guys just defend on point. This is actually super good. Interrupt. Oh, she learned. You can be faster with this, actually.
Yeah, I should have been faster, yeah.
Oh, when he gets double stun. Yeah. Nice cancel. She learned. Learning poggers. Chase.
So, this is something that I think is really hard for me to recognize, and I think it's a really hard thing to improve at. And this is probably the hardest lesson from this game that I will be able to integrate into my games. Is so many times when you win a fight like this while an objective is up, the correct thing to do is to not chase and to just go for the objective. Because that's the whole point of why you're kind of skirmishing fighting anyway, is to win over the objective, right? And so if you can back them off of it for a solid 10-15 seconds and just get, you know, a free 10-15 seconds over the objective, that's generally a win, right? That's a secure value, immediate value gain. But the harder thing to recognize is, because that's true 75% of the time, is when is the other 25% when chasing is correct and you should chase and try and kill them all? Because then you get a bunch of immediate value and you win the objective. And that's really hard. I don't know exactly how to do that. And I feel like, given this information right now that I have, because we have our Lucio at half health, we have our Blaze at half health, we have our Cassia at 75, and we have our tank at 75. They both just used their initiates, they both just used a whole bunch of their spells. they're already retreating. That generally when you start retreating like this, we're not on top of them right now. We're going to have to reinitiate, sort of. And so once we need to reinitiate, is like, if they're playing well, they should be able to get away. They shouldn't allow us to reinitiate if they're going to lose a fight. And so because they're already retreating, they should be realizing that we just need to not get re-engaged on. So I don't know why they're walking here. I think they should be walking here, diagonally this way, where Leeming and ETC are going, kind of. And so I think this is mostly down to my enemies positioning badly, but I don't even think my team is positioning that great either. I think I split off here a little bit preemptively because I've built up the instinct that chasing most of the time doesn't lead to anything, and then it's better to just go on the objective. I'm very much a player that tries to get small little incremental advantages, and so I just save time. If I just save 2 seconds, in little spots over the course of a game, eventually by the end of the game, I've done more things for like 2 more active minutes on the map. I've soaked more experience, I've taken more camps, I've been on more objectives for longer periods of time, and that wins you a lot of games. Is just being a more active participant in uh in what's going on the map. And so by peeling off here as an instinct, probably 2 seconds early, is that this actually leads me to missing a lot of kills here. I think this is still so hard for me to recognize that it's correct to chase here, and I don't know how I could necessarily fix that. And I think that's a really tough thing to, like, there's not an answer to that question, is basically what I'm trying to say. Is the answer to that question is play a lot more games, and it's just pattern recognition. You just need to know what their health bars are, what their abilities are, how much health and damage they're going to do, what cooldowns they are, whether they're on cooldown, whether they're off cooldown, and your team in addition to that, and all that. And that's just way too much over information. It just overloads my brain at that point. I can't evaluate all that and actually place a value on it of, is A greater than B or is B greater than A, in terms of which team will come out on top or whatever, or can you even catch them, or is the chase worth doing? I just can't do it. It's just not, to me, this is just a giant question mark, right? This is just a giant question mark that most of the time doesn't lead to anything. And so this is guaranteed value. And so I default to the guaranteed value. And yeah, it's a lesson. Like, it's good that Kala pointed it out. It's a lesson that I probably still would have thought, watching this game back on my own, I still would have thought the correct decision for my team to do here would be not chase and just go on the Immortal with me. I can see what Kala is saying here of you should chase and kill them. I just don't think I'm going to be able to recognize that very easily and fix that for the future in sort of an immediate way.
No.
Okay. So I thought chasing here was not really going to lead to much.
Oh, you guys kill the world. And then you interrupt. Oh, yeah, you don't have it for another 10 seconds. But no. Yeah, if you're chasing in here, this is a really good fight. Because it's like chunk. W onto everybody. Q in there. Like, there's so much damage here. This guy, you're just beating his face in the entire time, too. Yeah, you guys absolutely win this. You got Bunker up here, too. I'm actually pretty sure you guys can kill every single one of them.
Yeah, I see that now. I got two.
Greymane walks into me here for no reason and just dies.
I don't know why he walked towards me.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, no idea. I'm not sure why I
You
ulted
get
there.
this
I think I was
filter.
trying to catch the Uther, but
Yeah, you gotta open.
I think I had
the
started an
vision.
auto, and so the auto, it's a little bit of a buffering input problem where I had started the auto, and so because you can't, your R will interrupt your auto, is it's going to finish the full auto before it does the R, and so Uther had then walked down and was no longer in range of the R when the R came out. So I think that was a weird like input buffering issue there that happened, because I definitely tried to stun the Uther when he walked like directly on top of the Immortal, and I think it just worked out that my auto timing meant it was weirdly delayed, and so it just looked like I ulted the Immortal for no reason. Maybe I just reacted slow in addition to that. I'm not really sure exactly what happened there, but that was kind of weird. But anyway, yeah. Moving on.
This is one of those fights where if you guys lost this, ooh, they were going to rip you a new one. You were getting pinged during that. Nice, okay. It's like here you can do a better job of chunking this guy out as well.
I think I disagree with Kali here. I don't think chunking this guy accomplishes anything. And I kind of mentioned that here in a second.
I think I was just focused on getting the experience from the structure.
Yeah, you were.
Because he'll heal
Froze
up
again.
before.
And we almost have 16, but you guys got to go top. Like, already that queue is too
Yeah.
much.
Anyway, the point is, he's Uther. He probably has tap, but regardless, he can heal up before going top lane, and so chunking him doesn't accomplish anything. Whereas getting the structure gets us 16 and gets us his talent advantage. I have to sneeze.